Okay, so this is something that's been reported on various websites in relation to gaming, but at the same time, I mean, at this point, I honestly feel like we're way past this point, but apparently, Sega still thinks that at some point, Sonic is going to surpass Mario in terms of popularity. At least that's what they want. And when I first read the article online on can't remember what website it was on, but when I first read about this, I was thinking to myself, is Sega gonna come out with a new console? Do they want to recreate the console wars with Nintendo? But I'm not exactly sure if that's something that is going to happen. But it does seem like within the past couple of years, the Sonic the Hedgehog series has been more popular than it's been in a very long time. Because you look at the most of the 2000s after 2001 when Sonic Adventure 2 came out, there was this dark period where you had a bunch of 3D Sonic games that were either received negative reviews or average reviews at best, and nobody was really interested in Sonic the Hedgehog series. While every Mario game that has come out since the 80s, for the most part, has basically been either a classic or something that has sold millions or something that has connected with casuals that made people want to buy, Mario games and all that. And when it comes down to the Sonic series, it seems like the 2D games are more popular than the 3D ones. I mean, look at the Sonic Frontiers. It's one of the best 3D Sonic games that we've seen in quite some time. But even then, I mean, that's a game that kind of had a mixed reception for the most part that would probably lean towards being positive, but they won't, but people won't go on record and tell you that, it's one of the best Sonic games ever made because a lot of people feel like the Sonic the Hedgehog series is past its prime. And I believe we had Sonic, another 2D Sonic game that just came out. I think it was called Sonic Superstars. That was a game that, people liked for the most part. But again, it's a 2D Sonic game. And as far as the Sonic the Hedgehog series surpassing Mario in general is concerned, in terms of sales and popularity, I feel like it's very unlikely. And and for the most part, like it's just I don't think Sonic can necessarily compete with Mario in terms of video game sales and all that stuff. But you look at the main Super Mario series. Last time I checked, I believe as far as the main Super Mario series is concerned, more than 430 million copies have been sold worldwide over the past couple of decades, and that's a number that I think Sega can only hope to have with Sonic for the most part. And it seems like even in the realm of movies and cinema, it seems like Super Mario has been surpassing Sonic for the most part because you look at the Super Mario Brothers movie that came out back in April of 2023. That did over 1 billion in terms of box office revenue and all that stuff, and I think Sonic did a couple of mil. And don't get me wrong, the Sonic One and Sonic Two. Movies that came out within the past couple of years were both great, but the Super Mario Brothers movie that came out earlier this year, it was something that it was a lot better than what people expected. And I think that's one of the things that kind of helped it because for the most part, we haven't really had any other Mario movie prior to this one, except for the one back in the early 90s, which a lot of people said was atrocious. But but yeah, I mean, I'm not exactly sure how Sega plans um on surpassing Mario in terms of I guess sales or in terms of cinema in relation to popularity because for the most part Mario is probably the most popular character in gaming history, and Sonic, even though his personality and attitude and all that stuff is more I don't know, it's more I don't know, like he has more personality and he's a lot, cooler as people might say. Um, I don't know, like his video games don't sell as much as Mario's does. And it seems like no matter like what type of genre Mario is in, whether it's platform, whether it's sports, whether it's racing, his games always get like mainstream attention. They always do exceptionally well in terms of sales. Sonic, that's something that people can't necessarily say about Sonic because I mean Sonic doesn't really like he doesn't really excel too well in terms of sports and in terms of any other genre for the most part. And a lot of people will go and tell you that, most of his 3D games were lackluster or they were, average or whatever at best. But I do feel that it'd be pretty cool if Sega did get back into the console wars, even though the competition would be a lot tougher than it was, back in the 90s, because not only would Sega have to compete with Sony, but they would also have to compete with Microsoft. And, Sega's been out of the console wars for at least like 2 decades now. So I'm thinking they could just magically come back and then hope to compete with like, Sony or Microsoft or Nintendo just like that. So I honestly feel like in terms of Sonic, surpassing Mario in terms of popularity, the minute Sega stopped producing game systems was the minute myself and I'm pretty sure a lot of people knew that Nintendo was more popular, Mario was more popular in general, and it might like stay that way, and it's been that way for like the past like 2 decades or so. And but for the most part, we'd love to see like Sega, come out with a new game system. We'd like to see Sega put out more like top quality Sonic games in the future. And I respect the fact that Sega's doing everything they can to try and elevate Sonic as a character, and they're still trying to do everything they can to put out games that's going to appeal to casuals, because at the end of the day, that's going to bring out the best in Nintendo, and we're going to end up getting better like Mario games later down the line.